Hi everyone, and welcome back to my JAPLANNING series of videos to help you plan your trip to Japan. Now, before I first went to Japan, I was really excited, but I was also kind of nervous because I didn't know what it was going to be like, and I didn't know how different it was going to be, or if things were going to be quite difficult. So that's why I'm making this series, to show you the things you should know before you go, or things you do need to check. And I do feel like the theme of my videos is, if you want to go to Japan, you shouldn't be nervous about it, you should definitely go. So today is a very important subject, ordering food, and it's definitely something you're going to have to do at some point, and it's also one of the reasons why I always want to go back to Japan. Japanese food is amazing and I miss it so much. I've already made a video about types of food in Japan and that sort of thing. If you want to see it, it's on my channel. There's a playlist called JAPLANNING with all my Japan travel advice videos, so you can watch them all. And today is going to be a little bit more practical, how to order in restaurants and what to expect. Ordering at restaurants. Lots of restaurants in Japan have food models outside or in the windows, which is something we don't really have in the UK, so it's kind of interesting. And it also makes it really easy to tell what type of restaurant it is, and you know what you're getting. You know, sometimes how you order something from a menu and it's not quite what you expected. Here, you know exactly what you're going to get. When you go in, if you don't know any Japanese, it doesn't matter. Just hold up your fingers to show how many people there are in your group so they can take you to a table. Not everywhere has an English menu, but if you're in a city or a touristy area or somewhere in Tokyo, a lot of places do have them. Sometimes they even have them outside for you to look through. Quite often the waiter will see that you're a foreigner and they'll give you the English menu anyway, but if you need to ask for it, you can say, "Eigo no menu ga arimasu ka? Eigo no menu ga arimasu ka?" Or just "Eigo no menu," which means English menu. Eigo no menu. And quite a lot of people do understand English, so if you say English menu, they probably know what you're talking about. We really are so lucky as English speakers that you can go all the way to Japan and they'll have an English menu for you. At Coco Curry, they even have a huge menu book with all the international languages in. It's huge. Even if they don't have an English menu, it's quite common to have picture menus with pictures of the food, so you can kind of guess what something is and take your pick. If I wasn't vegetarian, I'd be completely happy to make a random choice off the menu and have a surprise dinner, but it's never actually quite come to that for us. Usually places do have an English menu or a picture menu, so you can make a choice. So that makes it really easy to point when you're making your order. If you want to try out some Japanese, you can say "kore o kudasai," which means "this please." It's a very useful phrase in lots of shops and restaurants. "Kore o kudasai," this please. Remember to point with your whole hand, not just one finger, because that can be considered a little bit rude. I think in several other countries as well, not just Japan. I'm not really sure how offensive people really find it, but I tried to fit in with all these little things. Although when I first went to Japan, it was really difficult because there were so many things I wanted to point out and go, look at that, and I kept forgetting that you should point with your whole hand instead. I think as a foreigner you do get a bit of a free pass because no one's going to expect you to know all these tiny little social faux pas, but I think it's best to try and fit in if you can. I went to an okonomiyaki restaurant last time and asked for the English menu. I said "Eigo no menu ga arimasu ka?" but it was quite noisy and I don't think the waitress heard me correctly because she brought over the regular Japanese menu and I was the only person in the group who could read any Japanese, so I thought, right, I can do this, and I started reading out and translating everything on the menu, but I am quite slow, so it was taking forever. I was like, right, shrimp, cheese, egg, and another waiter saw how much I was struggling and brought the English menu over for us, thank goodness. When you're ordering at a restaurant, another thing I've noticed is the waiters seem to expect you to say the thing you want and then how many of them. So you'd say this dish, 1, or this side dish, 2 of them. So if you speak Japanese, you can say the name of the food and then hitotsu for 1, hitotsu, or futatsu for 2, futatsu. And if you don't speak Japanese, just say kore o kudasai, 1, or kore o kudasai, 2. Another thing I've noticed is it doesn't seem to be the default to have to order drinks with your meal. In the UK it's kind of expected, and I think a lot of restaurants make their money by overpricing the drinks, so they kind of force you into it. They're always saying, what do you want to drink? Whereas in Japan, if you just order a meal, that seems to be fine, and they're not saying and you want a drink with that. It's not sort of expected like it is in the UK. In most restaurants I've been to, the staff don't tend to hassle you a lot during the meal, and if you do want something, it's fine to put your hand up and call the waiter over. That's not rude at all, which is actually a much better system than in the UK, where the waiter's supposed to telepathically know that you want something. Paying for your meal. Often they'll put the bill on the table for you in a clipboard or a little holder or something, and if you order more food or drinks, they'll update it or bring you a new one. I've noticed people don't really pay at the table in Japan. They'll pay at the till or the counter, so if you don't speak any Japanese and you're all done, ready to go, just go up to the counter and they'll know that you want to pay. If you do want to try asking in Japanese, it's o kanjo onegaishimasu, o kanjo onegaishimasu, and there's no tipping in Japan, so you don't need to worry about that. It's just not done. A lot of restaurants do take cards, but smaller independent places might be cash only, so I would recommend taking cash with you just in case. And if you want to know more about that, I made a separate JAPLANNING video all about money and paying for things, and you can find that on my channel in the JAPLANNING playlist. And if you like the t-shirt I'm wearing today, all the best stuff is from Japan, definitely true. It's my design and you can get it from cakeswithfaces.co.uk or Cakes with Faces on Etsy. The links are in the description, and this and all the other t-shirts are available in ladies slim fit, which is what I'm wearing today, or normal men's t-shirts. Try not to hang around for too long after you've finished eating. A lot of places are really small. Some of them only have a couple of seats, and quite often even larger places can get a queue of people outside waiting to go in. And when a restaurant's quite small, the owners can only make enough money to make a living if they have quite a high throughput of customers. So it's normal to eat your meal, then leave, move on. Don't hang around for a long time after you've finished. And if you are eating late, sometimes the staff do come over to you and say, "We're closing now," as in to say, "Can you leave now, please?" They're really polite, but you can tell that's what they mean. Ordering at a vending machine. Now, we don't really have this in the UK, so it's always kind of fun, but you might come across a restaurant where you order at a vending machine. It's actually a way for the restaurant to save on staff costs and make it easier to handle money, but I really like the setup of paying at the start because it means when you're finished you can just get up and go and not worry about paying at the end. They have buttons for all the different meals and drinks and the side orders. You usually have to pay by cash. They take coins and notes. So you put your money in, press the button for the meal you want, and it gives you a little ticket which you give to the staff, like the waiter or the chef behind the counter, and they make your food for you. Sometimes the buttons have English on them, sometimes they don't. I went to one ramen place where the buttons were all in Japanese, but they had a sign next to it with the English translation so you could work out which was which. If they only have an English menu and Japanese on the buttons, just check the price of the thing you want, and that makes it easier to find it. Or another time, the staff were standing right there and they helped us pick which button to press. And another useful phrase, which comes in handy in a lot of situations, is chigaimashita, which means I made a mistake or I did it wrong. So if you do press the wrong button, you can say chigaimashita, I did it wrong, and they'll help you. Conveyor belt sushi. Another fun and very Japanese experience is conveyor belt sushi. It's really cheap and they're actually everywhere. There's loads of them, so you should definitely give it a try. Obviously, it is cheap, so the sushi isn't as good quality as if you go to a fancy restaurant, but compared to what we get in the UK, it's actually really good. You pick what you want off the belt as you want it, and then at the end when you're done, they count up the plates and you pay for it. One place I went to had a special ruler for counting the plates if you've eaten a lot and you've got a really big stack. So it's really cheap. Often the plates are only 100 yen or so each, and then they're a little bit more expensive for the fancier types of fish, but it's definitely an experience you should try. Bars. Something you need to be aware of is that most bars have a cover charge, which is a bit like an entrance fee. It's a charge that you pay per person as you go in. It's usually about 300 to 1,000 yen per person, and sometimes they give you a little snack like a plate of nuts or some pickles or something that they say is what you get for the cover charge. So you pay that once per person when you go in, and then you buy your drinks. So that means that if you go bar hopping and going to different bars, you'll be paying a cover charge again and again for each one you go to. So it's to encourage you to stay longer and have more drinks in one place. There are places that don't have a cover charge. I'd say you do need to research that because you won't necessarily find them. just walking around, most places do have a cover charge. So in my experience, just walking around the streets and randomly picking places to go, it can be quite pricey to go drinking in Tokyo, but I definitely know there are cheaper places if you know where to go, which I didn't. What I tend to normally do is get drinks from the convenience store, which is really cheap, and take them back to the hotel room, which doesn't have the atmosphere of going out, but it is a lot cheaper. So I hope that helps and gives you an idea of what to expect when you go out to a restaurant, and how to order, and how you'll be absolutely fine if you don't know any Japanese. You can just point at things and they'll bring you food. If you want to see my other JAPLANNING videos, they're all in a playlist on my channel, and there will be new ones coming up, so subscribe to catch them. And if there's anything you'd like to know more about, just put it in the comments. I always try and reply to my comments. And you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. I'm Cakes with Faces. I'm always posting things about Japan and my designs and cute things, colourful things. So have a look, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.